Hi, welcome. It's Citizen Susan here, and I am going to talk about the injustice that I've experienced voting in the United States. So, my most recent experience was in West Virginia, where I went to place my citizen vote. I'm a U.S. citizen. I was born on a military base. My father is buried in Arlington Cemetery. He fought in Vietnam. You don't get more USA than that. So anyway, I walked in the door to vote, my first time voting in West Virginia. And they put out sample ballots online. That's kind of what you're expecting to vote on. But no. I got there and they had machines that I had to vote on. Not even paper ballots, not the thing that they showed online. Nothing. Nothing at all the same. So it's very misleading already there. But I walked in the door and I had both my driver's license and my U.S. passport. So I could prove I was a citizen, and I could prove where I lived, and I was at the correct polling place. So I showed them everything, but they only looked at my driver's license. They didn't even look at my passport. They didn't care that I was a U.S. citizen, actually. So they put me into their system, and they gave me the papers to sign, and then they sent me over to go vote in another computer. So they put me in one computer, then I went and voted in another, and then if I was a registered person, I could have finished everything and placed my voting paper into the third machine, which then closes out the account. But because I was unregistered when I went in, I had to do a provisional ballot, which you only get to do the first part where they put your name and information in. Then you go to the second terminal, second computer, and you place your votes on a computer, not on a piece of paper. And then you have to go back to the beginning and you hand in that into an envelope, and then that goes to a election board who is not elected at all. It has nothing to do with elections. It's not the Secretary of State. It's nobody. And they decide if your vote's going to be counted. So I don't know what their criteria is, but they said because I canceled my registration like 2 years ago almost, that my vote wasn't counted. But, I mean, for one thing, I'm a U.S. citizen, so my vote needs to be counted, period. Whether I'm registered or not, it needs to be counted. I am a U.S. citizen, and that is what the Constitution says. I have a right to have my vote counted, not just to vote. My right is not just to vote, it's to have it actually counted. So this is the problem, folks. We have somebody who seems to think that they know better than us and that they have a right to decide whose vote gets counted. So this is why I've been traveling around the U.S. since 2019. And I've been talking to people. And people are saying they're not being heard. And it's true, because the only way to really be heard anymore is by voting. And if they don't count your U.S. citizen vote, your voice is not being heard. This is an insult to my father. It's an insult to every service member who died. Shame on you, Democrats and Republicans, for taking over our country. This is illegal. It's unconstitutional. You need to be stopped. Shame on you. Shame on you, Democrats and Republicans. You are the only ones in charge of the election process. You and your governors and your Secretary of States and your election people, you are all fraudulent. You are all manipulating our votes, and you are doing illegal things. No God that you believe in is going to let you get away with that. I don't care how many times you swear you're upholding the Constitution according to God. Sorry, your God is not going to forgive you for that. So, how dare you insult every military person who lost their lives defending our Constitution? How dare you? How dare you? Not only that, but along the road, I heard so many stories of how many people who also were citizens who lost their vote because they weren't somehow registered, or somebody else voted for them and the vote got thrown out because they decided the first vote was accurate, and the actual person who went in to vote and was voting at the right time, not at an early voting time, their vote, the real person's vote, was thrown out. Shame on you for that too. And shame on you, New York State, for having somebody vote for me while I was living in Switzerland 2 times. 2 times somebody voted for me while I was living in Switzerland. I lived in many places in the U.S. I don't know how many registering to votes forms I filled out. It could be I'm voting everywhere. I don't know, because it's all top secret, this registering to vote list. And we all know that misspellings and wrong addresses and dead people are voting too. And everybody so far is accepting this. Well, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. That's why I wrote a lawsuit against my Secretary of State and the Election Division of West Virginia back in 22. Sadly, I did not know all the things about the law and how to do a lawsuit, and I missed the chance to appeal. But then I started a new lawsuit last year in 2024 in February, and that lawsuit is still pending with the Supreme Court. So I call upon the Supreme Court to defend U.S. citizens, both alive and dead, especially the ones who lost their lives in battle. They deserve better. They deserve better than letting the Democrats and Republicans manipulate our votes and get whoever they want in office. It is unacceptable. This election was fraudulent, and it's not acceptable that U.S. citizen votes are not being counted. I'm sorry. It's just not. How dare you? I don't know how Democrats and Republicans can even look at themselves in the mirror anymore. This thievery and the fraud and the lies and the cheating. It's enough. You are a bad example for your own children. Your parents must be embarrassed. And you're a bad example for our country. And I don't want you representing us anymore, anywhere on the planet, to any other country. Democrats and Republicans need to go out. Goodbye.